Thank you for joining us. I'm Carrie and I'm here with Robert, who does the historical tours of Greater Holyoke. He offers both public and private tours of the local canal systems, reservoirs, cemeteries, as well as various parks and streets in Holyoke, Chicopee, and South Hadley, Mass. You can find more information of his tours on his website at holyokecanaltours.org or email him directly at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. So we're going to talk about the Anniversary Field Tour. Why is Anniversary Field going to be in the spotlight this year of 2023?
Well, believe it or not, Anniversary Field, 100 years ago, was given to Holyoke as a present on its 50th anniversary as a city. And they had bought land up on the top of this hill. Another strip of land was gifted to them. And another strip of land was bought by a private group. And that made Community Field. So, this year, 2023, is the 100th anniversary of Anniversary Field and of Community Field. And so, what's going to happen? We're going to have a walking tour from the base in Community Field up to the top of Anniversary Field. And we're not going to go see the tower because that's in rough shape. We're going to pass over the 4 bridges made by the Civilian Conservation Corps. And people that go up there may know about 2 of them. But I have my friends show me 2 more this year, or last year. And we're going to go as walkers over 3 of them. One of them, the third one along, is not safe to go over. But the first, second, and fourth, we're going to pass over.
So now describe the arrangement of Anniversary Field in 1923 in comparison to now in 1923.
Okay,
2023.
The way it is, it used to be in a clear shot from where Lynch School and where the Highlands Fire Station were. A clear shot to the west, up the hill, and that would be Anniversary Field. In the 1960s, Interstate 91 cut right through it. But it still exists at its base. It's where the Lynch School baseball fields used to be. And at the top is now where the Scotts Tower is. Very strange arrangement. And Community Field is very peculiar because you have to get onto it from Cherry Street and go in. It too was cut in half by Interstate 91. So you start at the base. There's a lot of playgrounds, and used to be a wading pool there, and baseball fields. And then you walk up the paved road to the point where Anniversary Field and Community Field join together. And then you keep walking. There are actually two fields which should be called one. And we're going to be walking up to the top.
Now describe the WPA and the CCC projects at Anniversary Field.
The Works Progress Administration made the Walter Scott Tower at the top. You can still walk up to the top of this tower and get a decent view. They should cut some of the trees down so you get the best view. But there's hopefully a grant that will come through where that tower will be fixed up. 2 of the steps are in horrible shape on the way up. And if they are, people probably have a better time going up to the top. Now, the CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps, in the early 1930s, made 4 bridges. And those bridges we're going to walk over. 2 of them are headed in the brush, but we're going to clear them out for this walk. That would be bridge number 1 and 4. Bridges 2 and 3 are very obvious, they're closer to the road. And number 2 is the biggest, and you can walk over it. Number 3, don't walk over it. It's a dangerous situation. And so those, hopefully repaired, fixed. They're still in great shape, but little repairs would be great. Okay.
Now, there was a ski trail at Anniversary Field. Can you describe that for us?
Yeah, this has amazed me. I would have never thought this. I always thought that Mountain Alpine ski area was the first ski area in Holyoke. Not true. The first downhill ski area in Holyoke was on Anniversary Field. In the mid-1930s, a ski area was made from the top of the hill, took a dog left, and it went down to where the fire station still is. There was no fire station at that point. So from the early 1930s to the mid 1950s, this was the alpine area in Holyoke. And so I found pictures of skiers going down there. There are competitions. It's incredible. So I'm going to describe these along the walk. It's not just a bridge. I'll describe various things that happen. And this will be one of the highlights, and people will be amazed that you have this.
Now, what will your tour be like from the community into Anniversary Field?
Okay. What it will be like is we're going to start at the base, and I'm going to talk about the history and the geography of Community Field and where you have the brooks come in. And then we'll walk along the dirt trails, not on the road, and we'll pass over the course of about 2 miles over these 4 bridges. But once we get to the top and we're done with the bridges, we're going to sneak over towards the tower, and there I'm going to talk about the ski trail, toboggan path, about a very big swim pool that was on the very top called Schmurra Pool. And people will be amazed you could have had all these things. And these things slowly are being fixed up. Holyoke was able to buy the back half of this hill, so they now own much more. And a road's being built on the back half, has a utility road. The wires on the road going in and up the hill will be taken off their poles, put underground, and the poles taken out. So it's going to be a nature park where people don't have to look at electric wires. We'll have a nice road to drive up the one, but a great trail to walk up. And hopefully someday the Scotts Tower will be fixed. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for talking to us about that. And again, you can check out some of his other tours and that one as well, and videos at his website, HolyokeCanalTours.org. And again, he does the tours of canals, churches, cemeteries, reservoirs, parks, houses, and streets in Holyoke, Chicopee, and South Hadley, Mass. He also does the tours and presentations, public and private. So go and check that out. You can also email him directly at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And thank you for listening with us, and hopefully we have you join us again. Thank you for tuning into our podcast. We are coming to you from Holyoke, Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining me is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Kumoon. He offers both public and private tours, as well as presentations of the local canal systems, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks and streets in Holyoke, South Hadley, and Chicopee, Mass. Now you actually lead these tours and give these presentations yourself, is that correct?
Yes, correct. I did one year 2023 up this hill.
And so today he'll be educating us on the Anniversary Hill land acquisition. So, what has been happening to the Anniversary Hill in recent years?
Well, they've been acquiring land for a really good reason. And that's because they want to make an expansion of Community Field and Anniversary Field, especially, of course, of Anniversary Field on the top of the hill. And what they want to do, they want to make a back entrance for handicapped people to get up a back access road. And it's also going to be doubled as a service entrance. And so there's going to be a 1 lane of service entrance traffic and then a tiny lane of wheelchair access. And this is going to be over, I think, called Overlook Drive. Now, that would allow people to get in from the north. You can always get in from the south through Community Field into Anniversary Field. You have to walk up, of course, because it's gated. What I'm going to tell you along the way is not only what happened in recent years, but also tell you about what they're going to try to do to it in the near future, and then what kind of land they will be acquiring this year and the years to come, and then what's going to be in store for Anniversary Hill, Scotts Tower, and maybe even Community Field. And so we're going to get a lot here.
And so what will be done to Anniversary Hill to bring it to a better state?
Okay, what will be done is that they're going to try to get land acquisition in the back, which they've already done. And the importance of that is that it was an enormous amount of land back there which didn't belong to Anniversary Hill. It extended downwards to the north. And they were able to, with Kestrel Land Trust help, buy up that land. They couldn't afford the land to be added to Holyoke. So what they did, they joined together with Kestrel, and Kestrel bought up the land so no one else would, and it kept it away from developers. And then um, uh, the third year of Kestrel owning it, Holyoke was able to get the money through a Community Preservation Act grant, and they were able to buy up the land from Kestrel. So in this really wonderful process, they were able to get a good land grab in the back. Now, in this year, they're going to try to buy up more land. They've already looked at the land towards the eastern slope, and they're talking in serious talks of getting this land going. And what is it all for? Well, once they get that going, they're going to try to make the roadway better going up. They're going to take down the telephone, the wires that are on the telephone poles and put them underground. And that's a requirement to get certain other grants. And they're going to try to make it look like a more natural place. They're going to fix up the trails that were made by the CCC, our Civilian Conservation Corps. Those trails. They're going to fix up the 4 bridges that were made by the CCC. They're going to fix up the WPA Scotts Tower Works Progress Administration. And they're going to also cut down some of the trees, trim some of the trees, get rid of some of the brush and bushes around the area. In general, make everything look up to snuff. Add back some more picnic tables. Also, make sure the views are great from the parking lot up there. Make sure the views are improved from Scotts Tower, not perfectly so. And make sure that a containment wall along one segment of the entry roadway is fixed up. And make some additional. I told you about the handicap access road, but make sure there's some additional handicap accessible spaces along the way. And so it's going to end up closer to looking like it did 100 years ago. We're talking in the year 2023 on the 100th anniversary of Anniversary Hill and Community Field. And they want to get it back to looking that way. It's not going to actually look that way completely because they're not going to try to cut out all the trees that have grown around the area, but they're going to try to make it a lot better looking. And it will never look the same because Interstate 91 goes right through it. So how can you ever get it back to the same state? But it's just to bring it to a better state, a state where people could go up there and enjoy it, and it won't look like a wasteland on the very top. If it weren't for the Gavala family, it would look that way because Robert Gavala and his dad have been able to clean it for decades and decades. Now, along the way, I'm also going to tell you about another land acquisition and then the third one. And that's great because there's so much future that's in this place.
So quickly before we continue, will there be more land acquisition?
Yeah, so that Kestrel uh, Land Trust and Holyoke Conservation Department land acquisition on the north was great. They're going to have one this year, probably finished this year early in 2024. Along the eastern flank, there's parcels 3 and 4 that are being bought out by someone that now lives in the suburbs of Boston. He doesn't want that land anymore. But it's important because one of the trails, the major trails, goes right through that land, and they want to own all the land that they're going to fix up the trails on. And then there's one more land acquisition in the very bottom, uh, between Bowden Village, I think it's called, and White Hopper Park, and the edge of Community Field, and they want to buy that. It's not really buildable, and so who knows why the person wants to hold on to it. But they want to acquire that land because they someday want to make a trail and a bridge out to White Hoppers Park from Community Field. So they connect the third park to the 2 parks they already have, Community and Anniversary. So this is looking great. And Community Field has always been built up, has a great playground, and has great, beautiful land in the sled area, a dog park. So the future is bright, and that's our next part.
So, what might the future hold for Anniversary Hill and Scout Tower?
Okay, so Community Field itself has a bright future and has been well maintained, but Anniversary Field up the top has not been. So what is it going to look like? I think that they will probably cut down more and more trees along the way. They promise in the near future to cut down many of them, but they promise also to make gorgeous trails, to make them accessible to all people, to fix up the bridges, and could it possibly look like it was about 80 years ago when Scott's Tower was in its original state? Yes. Get the graffiti off of there, trim the masonry, get those bridges nice and sharp, white, um, and make sure people know that the University Hill is now beautiful again and they can use the trails again. Also get more police present up on these trails, maybe run in the underground cable, maybe put one of those cables being for security cameras along the way so people cannot ruin what they're going to do. And you can imagine about 5 to 10 years from now that Scott's Tower would be again one of the most popular places for not only Holyoke but for surrounding community. The view is spectacular. You're on the top of Crafts Hill, which is high elevation, and so you get a better view than you would from top of Mount Time because you're closer to the urban area, and so you get a good look of nature and of urban together. And that's an anthropological site where you see the people in their building and nature all together. And maybe even get nature programs up there and historical tours up there every year. And so I can see a brighter future than it is now, and being more accessible from different points, from the back north where the handicap access would be, from White Hopper Park, and from Community Field. You have a great potential here.
So, thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours, and we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. You can also tune into a large selection of our other podcasts and much more at his website. Again, that's holyokecanaltour.org. And again, you can email him directly for private tours or to inquire about anything else at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And be sure to keep an eye out for his upcoming 2024 season tours and more as they become available. Thank you for tuning in. Community Field Park. So, tell us about the history of Community Field.
All right, I gave the history of Anniversary Field and a bit of Community Field in a separate podcast that concentrated very heavily on the old parts of both those fields and why this year, 2023, they're celebrating their centenary, 100th year anniversary. And so I want to really concentrate on the modern part of Community Field and refer you to that other podcast. But the history of Community Field is very similar to Anniversary Field, both founded in 1923, and both were gifted to Holyoke. One was farmland, and the other one, this one, was also farmland, but it was taken up by a private group, and they wanted to turn it into a minor league baseball stadium, enclosed for the spectators. And they graded Community Field as much as they could. And 100 years ago, they used $90,000 to grade that field. And that's why Community Field is very flat through most of its section. They tried from 1923, intensified to 1925, and by 1929 they realized they weren't going to be able to do it. They couldn't get any more money. And it was not because the Depression started, it was before the Depression in 1929, the early part of the year, they realized they couldn't get a baseball field in there. It's very expensive. They wanted to do it all on their own and keep it private. They came up short. But they held to a promise. They said in 1923 to Holyoke they would give a gift of the park to Holyoke if they could not finish the field. They'd gift the whole park. And that's what happened in 1929. They gifted it. Now, this park has a lot of history. For instance, dinosaur prints were found in one section. It has a a Dave Brook, that has caused lots of trouble, and that has been put on the ground for most of the extent, but you can see part of the Dave Brook. And other things that have happened around here, and I used to have a big toboggan run. Now it's just a smaller, medium-sized sled run. And so lots of things have happened.
So what are some of the modern amenities in this field that people might enjoy?
All right, if you go there, you'll find a beautiful playground set for the bigger kids, a smaller one for the tiny kids, and people always put money into this field. They try to keep it as nice as possible. It has a nice skating rink outdoors. That's very big. It always had that. It used to ice up the wading pool. Now it has own refrigerated ice skating path. And it has a large restroom area and a place that they sell food. They have a lot of hiking trails, and there's lots to it. There's also the uphill section, which leads you up to the top of Anniversary Field, which is an adjacent park, and there you find the Scotts Tower on the top of the hill. They have here a dog park too, so a lot of people come just for that, and they let their dogs go out. And there's always been a pride in this community. Sometimes they don't leave very clean at night, so they have a lot of good maintenance here. But overall, it's a pretty nice park, and I hope it stays that way.
So before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to let our listeners in, if you want to find out more information or sign up for any of his various tours, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org. And there he has both videos of the various stops along each tour and also past and present photos of the historical sites throughout as well. And if you're interested in setting up a private tour, you can email him directly at bobcat4214, and they are perfect for fun and educational outdoor activities for the whole family or for your group parties, especially those special occasions and get-togethers. And they are also good just for getting outdoors for the day. So getting back to our interview, how does this field fit into its neighborhood?
All right, it fits in okay. It's not like they can just walk out there. You're out on the streets and there'll be loads of homes around or institutions. But it fits in okay. The reason why it was even built is they wanted to have every neighborhood in Holyoke have access to at least a medium-sized or large park. And so Oakdale needed a park, and the Highlands needed a park. So Oakdale pretty much gets to brag that they have community field. In the upper part of community field, when it blends into University Field, well, the Highlands neighborhood get to have that park. Now, that's a good description of how it fits in, but it could fit in a little better, and they're trying to make it better. They have a little park called Wyatt Harper Park near the interstate, and they're trying to make that into a parking area where people can take a path into Community Field and Anniversary Field, and that'll make it fit in even better. And there's a lot of institutions around, such as the Soldiers' Home. So men that are in the Soldiers' Home could go into this park. And hopefully it gets even better in this regard.
Now, what should this field evolve into?
Okay, I think that what is being done now should continue. So Holyoke in the last 3 years has bought up a lot of land on the top of Anniversary Field and on the side of Community Field. They bought out 3 out of the 4 parcels they need to own all the land that you might consider to be the wooded edges of these 2 parks. There's 1 parcel left, and this is the year 2023, and hopefully this parcel will also be built. And Holyoke has promised that once they have all 4 parcels, that they will improve the roadway. Any electric wires would be put underground. They would improve Scotts Tower on the top, make a back entrance road, and they would try to get the trails much better and get trails maps. The whole reason they want a beautiful open space for Holyoke here, looking a lot like it was 100 years ago. And I hope they succeed. They've pushed so hard the past 3 years that I think they will succeed. They've bought 2 very expensive parcels on the back end of Anniversary Field, and 1 medium expense parcel on the side of community field. And these parks are well maintained, and that community field is well maintained at its base. The anniversary field is well maintained at its base when it's cut off by the highway. And so I really hope to see what this park looks like 5 years from now. And then I'd say, oh, from this point, let's do this and that. You want to see, because I think that we can succeed and make fast improvements. And then they'll see, does it really fit in? Does it meet all the needs of the young people and the older people? So hopefully this will all work out.
And thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours. And we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And you can also tune into a large selection of our other podcasts and much more at his website. Again, that's holyokecanaltour.org. And again, you can email him directly for private tours or to inquire about anything else at bobcat4214, and be sure to keep an eye out for his upcoming 2024 season tours and more as they become available. Thank you for tuning in.